It is Talking Red Soccer Chat with Neil Atkinson and Fuad Hasan. It does not get better than this. It doesn't get more soccery than this. And the chat, you'll never have known the likes, as it wears on all the way through here. The point is around the Soccer Chat of Talking Red. So Talking Reds this season, we've moved it to Wednesday. Every single Wednesday, a longer Talking Reds theoretically. Starting at 10 on the dot. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed it's 10:16 as we've started, because we've just spent 10 minutes trying to work out what the Soccer Chat will be. The title of the Soccer Chat, and then from there what the topics will be on the Soccer Chat. As this season wears on, when Liverpool are playing on Tuesday or Wednesday night, this show, Fuad, will involve a look back at Tuesday's game, or, and bear with me, a look ahead to Wednesday's game. As it is, Liverpool don't play another football match until some point in about 2026, it feels like at the moment. I don't know quite how this has happened. The season has started, it was a shit show. We all wanted to go absolutely mad. You wanted nothing more than to play another midweek game, and now all of a sudden they do not play until, and bear with me on this, Monday night.
Yeah, it's wild. It's like they've got another pre-season in between, and Pep Linders and Klopp are working them hard, I'm guessing, like back out in Austria and Evian or something like that.
But I'd watch them play anyone right now.
Exactly,
if they need to really get the confidence up, they could play us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just a Rondos would do for me. You know, just Thiago knocking a few. Well, he can't knock a few around, but that's a shame. But any of the other lads just knocking a few balls around in a circle, I'd take that at this stage, because it does feel like ages, and you don't want that at the start of the season, do you? Especially after that Fulham game. You know, you don't want that gap where you're like, ugh, that. All the different sort of negativity brews a little bit. People are like, where's the midfielder? All of that.
No.
No, not us.
Not us.
Not us.
We're so level-headed as a fan base.
Exactly.
We take all of the hits. We just roll with the punches. It's what we're known for. It's what we're endlessly doing. So, what I wanted to talk to you about, because not only are Liverpool not doing much, but also it feels like the whole of footy, with the exception of the sides that are trying to get European qualification, but it feels like the whole of sort of footy in general has put its feet up for a couple of days. Is the idea of, so Timo Werner has gone back to Leipzig, or is going to go back to Leipzig. I'm not sure if it's finally confirmed.
I think it is.
So Steve Graves has always had this thing, and I sort of agree with it, even in the examples where it's proven not to be true, that all footballers would be better if they'd moved to Liverpool.
Yeah.
And my Timo thing, in all seriousness, is I reckon he's been a roaring success for the Reds. Not just because of Jurgen, but just in general. I do think we are fundamentally sound, arms around the shoulder, everyone's singing his name, miss as many as you want, lad. We'll keep backing you. He feels to me like genuinely, I sort of, in a really weird way, even though he's failed at Chelsea, part of me still wishes he had actually played for Liverpool.
Definitely, and I just think that the dynamic with Tuchel, I don't think he's good at that, at dealing with players who maybe come in without that confidence and need that sort of arm around the shoulder and need that sort of lifting up. And I feel like not just coaches and individuals in the football club, it's the culture that's been created here that, you know, is so welcoming. You know, you see Darwin Núñez walk in, and within a week it looks like he's been here for 3-4 years, and he's mates with everyone. He's got Thiago translating for him. It's all these other things, I think, that influence what the footballers do on the pitch. And I think Timo Werner would have been, you know, he's got all the raw kind of ingredients. I know everyone likes to say that with footballers, but he has got all the raw ingredients for a you know, a Klopp forward or a Klopp frontline player. And I think, yeah, he would have been a success. He would have scored goals, I think, as well, which is the big thing, but also influenced play in different ways.
I think I sort of feel as though that what I liked about him, so he doesn't go. I think there's this thing where everyone's decided he goes away as a failure.
Yeah.
Did win a Champions League.
Yeah, he
plays in a Champions League final and makes the key run that creates space for Havertz. And what I think he could have been brilliant at for us, and I love Diogo Jota, and if I had to pick between them, I'd pick Diogo Jota, not least because he is so ruthless in front of goal, which is the thing that Werner isn't. But what I think he would have been really good for us, and why I could see why we were really tracking him, is the movement.
Yeah.
That he's constantly threatening, he's constantly looking to get him behind, and then from there, I think the hope was, from a Chelsea point of view, the goals will come. He'll do fine going back to Leipzig, but he shows in that final, I think, what it was he could have done. And whenever I caught him, genuinely, I don't see him as an unmitigated failure. Almost whenever I watched him, even when he was missing from 2 yards out, I was like, I could see why that would work for Liverpool.
Exactly, and I think before Chelsea signed him at Leipzig, you know, he scored a load of goals, and I think there was a little conversation around, well, they create so many chances, and he's not the most clinical, but, you know, at the end of the day, he's going to put away a few of them. But we've seen with players coming to Liverpool, that element of, you know, being clinical just goes up a notch, and goes up, you know, 10 notches in the case of Mo Salah. And I would not have been surprised if we were talking about Timo Werner scoring, you know, 20, 25 goals a season if Liverpool had signed him back then, and being right up there as one of the first names of the team sheet. You know, you could see him playing across that front line, number one, but also playing with all the different players that we've got in those positions. you could see, you know, that chemistry forming, and Leipzig, you know, the players that play there are no mugs in terms of the system and how they play. They all know how to press. They all know how to do all the little things that Jurgen would ask from his team, and players improve. That's the big thing here.
There's a lot of these, if you go down the years, of lads that we missed. So what I always remember at this time of year, and I cited the game against Burnley going all the way back to 16-17 when we start the season and we were absolutely rubbish.
Yeah.
By the way, Mr. Four String has put "soccer, you bad wolves" in the comments. It's ironic, Mr. Four String. And also, there's nothing more wool than fucking string. There is within this. I think at that period we were strongly linked to Mohamed Dahoud. Yeah. Mohamed Dahoud was everywhere from a Liverpool point of view, and Jurgen had saw something in pre-season, and then at the start of the season that meant he didn't want Liverpool to go in a Dahoud direction. And Dahoud's gone on to have a bit of a funny career himself, and that's what I mean with a lot of these footballers. They end up in what can, you know, in a bit of a crossroads moment at times. That isn't even down to them. It was Liverpool who decided not to pursue Dahoud because they wanted to go into a separate direction. But that doesn't mean that these footballers are inherently bad players. And I think that, you know, for so many players, there's obviously the greats, you know. Yeah. There's so many greats, there's so many obviously staggering players, and players who would become staggering players no matter what. But there's others where there is a moment where if a manager on a whim goes in a different direction, you could end up with a completely different career. Dahoud's one example of that. Julian Brandt is an example of that, where it was Brandt or Salah, and Klopp wanted Brandt. Yeah. And we go through all of this, and I think at times, and this is where it does come back to the present day conversation around midfielder or something else, where ultimately in 5 years' time, one of the things that might have had the most profound impact on Harvey Elliott's career is that Liverpool decided in these last two windows not to buy a midfielder, and instead Elliott ended up getting opportunities.
Definitely, and I think, you know, you can even look at Gini Wijnaldum sort of flipping it a bit and thinking about how, you know, the environment kind of brought the world-classness out of him, if you like, and created that player. And I don't think, you know, if Gini Wijnaldum signs for Tottenham at that time instead of Liverpool, I don't think you see the Gini Wijnaldum you saw over the last 3-4 years, because of everything around him, because of, again, it's all the cultural thing and the environment. I think that's so important with a lot of these players, especially the slightly younger ones, the ones that come from, you know, are making that big step up. They're not coming from a Bayern Munich already or a Real Madrid where they sort of know their level is there already. They have to make that jump. And, you know, the reason Mo Salah probably didn't need all that is because he had that Chelsea experience. He had a lot of experience in his career where he's able to sort of fall back on that and use that. And I think, you know, with some of these younger players who don't get their move in the end, maybe Nabil Fekir is another one, even though that's different reasons for that with the injury and the knee, the famous knee. But there's a lot there where, you know, you realise how important these environments are for these
Just
players.
last thing on it before we bring in the clip from 10 bands 10 minutes, 10 topics 10 minutes, 10 bands 10 minutes with Sam Walker down tonight with Married to the Sea. There is within this, I think that this is where we think this stuff's an exact science. At times, we can all be guilty of that one way or another. We think this stuff's an exact science, and it just isn't for these footballers, and it isn't for these people who are running football clubs. For every single one of them, you know, for instance, I'll flip it another way. Manchester City missed out on Jorginho. We went to Chelsea instead. Rodri, I think, has been in lots of ways the most important Manchester City player the last 18 months. But if they buy Jorginho, there's no room for Rodri. You know, you can sort of go through these. There's a number of players City have missed out on. They've now missed out on Kurikella, for instance, and he's gone to Chelsea instead, and now they're looking at an Anderlecht left back, when Kurikella looked all but nailed on from a City point of view. Does that mean that we think that Manchester City will be any less great this season? Absolutely not. But all of this stuff, I think, Fuad, we think there's master plans and people are adhering to these master plans, whereas a lot of the time football managers almost get away with one by not getting a player in that they might have wanted at a key moment.
Exactly, and I think the Julian Brandt Salah thing's the perfect example. You know, that was basically a bit of a debate between the manager and his assistant or one of the scouts. I'm not sure, I can't remember. But, you know, that could have easily gone the other way. You know, in a lot of other clubs it would have, because the manager would have been like, well, no, I'm the manager, I will make the decision, I want Julian Brandt. And I think it's a testament to sort of the way decisions are made at Liverpool, where, you know, everything is taken into account. There doesn't seem to be the thing of egos in terms of who decides what. And what they've done is, the only thing you can do is create or try to create the best sort of circumstances for people to come into and make it as easy as possible for them to bed in, not just on the football pitch, but off it, because we understand how both things, relate to each other, how important both things are to each other. So I think they do all they can, but that element of unknown is always going to be there. It's the nature of humans, isn't it, really?
It is indeed. LFC Aaron says in the comments, Mane instead of Goethe. Talking Reds, yes, there will only now be one a week, but it'll be longer. It'll be on a Wednesday. Wednesday morning, normally starting bang on 10. This week starting at 10:15, because we just really needed to get into the bones of soccer. We really needed to work the soccer minds and see where we're going to end up. Here's a clip from 10 Topics, 10 minutes.
The West Ham away divide, have you seen it?
Yes.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know quite what everyone thinks it's achieving. It feels like a combination of the blind date screen, bumpers when you play bowling. It's got a real sort, like, I'd quite like to rest against it. That'd be nice. You've had a big day.
Yeah.
You've got there. Yeah. You're on the divide. You think, fucking hell, I'm on the divide. You get there. You have a bit of a lead. That'd be nice. I think it's really weird. I don't even think it's dystopian. It's something else.
It is strange, isn't it? It's like, it's like, I don't know whether it's going to make it worse or better. Like, if you can't look someone in the eye, maybe you'll see even worse shit. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? There's something about the human element that surely can't understand a bit.
Possibly. I just think it might just make. I think the idea is they want people to forget you're there on both sides. Forget that bit. That bit's not your business.
Okay.
I think that'll be the aim of it. I really don't want it to catch on. It's odd.
No, it is odd. It is odd. To enjoy this podcast or video, all you need to do is download the Anfield Wrap app. It's available on Google Play or your app store on Apple, and you can get some free tokens, which you can use to try some of our content, and that includes match previews, immediate post-match content, exclusive interviews, and loads of transfer chat as well. So join the Anfield Wrap. We're sharing the story of supporting Liverpool from the heart of the city. Up the Reds.
Westy Lid 22 has been on, Catcher's lad, and he says, soccer chat, half tempted to cancel my subscription with that nonsense. Yet again, we've discovered someone else. In this instance, it is Westy Lid, who does not understand irony. And at some point, we'll get him on a course and he'll go from there, and we'll all hopefully grow as people. Irony courses are available out there. It's one of the few growth industries in this country. At the moment, you can get a T-shirt with Mo Salah's name on. There you go. You can get a T-shirt with Luis Diaz's name on. There you go. You can get a mug here. There you go. No, I'm absolutely terrified off the back of that one. It is indeed. We're back with Talking Reds. We're back with Fuad Hasan. We're talking about what might have been. If you download the app, by the way, you can see 10 Topics, 10 minutes. It's really, really good. To be honest with you, it's one of my favourite new shows. Not least because I'm very, very clear on how long it will approximately last. Unlike A, this Talking Reds, and B, almost everything else. Fuad, on the idea of, therefore, of what might have beens, I think that we, for instance, we benefit from it at times, but also at times we I think, eventually sort of suffer from it. So I would argue, for instance, that had Liverpool, we love Ibrahima Konate. I love Ibrahima Konate, but there's a fair chance that if Liverpool had gone into transfer markets in the COVID season, got a centre-half, it wasn't Ibrahima Konate, then he might not be here now. But Liverpool could have gone on to look to retain the title in that season, could have been better prepared for that season. And I think that this is the legitimate sort of, are we sufficiently stocked in midfield question as well, even though we've got so many of them. I think that this, I can understand, therefore, why people, when they are doing the ifs, buts and maybes, are at times like, but scientifically, I feel like you haven't got enough lads who will play enough games to keep kicking the football for you. Definitely,
and I think it always comes down to, especially with this manager and this sort of club at this stage, is this constant conflict between, thinking about the short term, the mid term, and the long term. Because you mentioned before the likes of Harvey Elliott, Carvalho is another one who clearly is now going to be an option in this first team, and hopefully in this first team midfield, because I do think he will be really good there. And you do get in the way of these players. Curtis Jones is another one. We all want to have a big season. We all want this to be the one where he does sort of break through again, if you like, and go up another level. And I think you don't necessarily get that if you go and sign someone on a loan in a bit of an emergency situation, because not that it'll upset the dynamic, but it just sort of, the conversations the manager may have had earlier on with some of these players, it does affect that. And I think he's very conscious of those things, and he's very conscious of making sure everyone feels as important as they should in this squad. And when they don't play, he's able to sort of call on that. They're able to call on that, so that when they do play, they do come in with that kind of fire. And I think yeah, the midfield question is eternally going to be one, because we went back to 2019 in the summer, and there was the same sort of thing with the midfield again, wasn't it? Then when should we have signed someone and Liverpool going to win the league? So where's the sort of, it's a bit almost like a no-win situation because we just don't know how things are going to pan out.
We don't, but what we do know is that everyone in the club will be working really, really hard to bring about what we want them to bring about. I think that's the thing that ever so slightly gets missed here. Jurgen Klopp is working night and day in order to get the results for Liverpool and with the players who are around him. There will be lots of build-up from tomorrow onto Monday's game. Monday's game against Crystal Palace. It's inconceivable that Monday will even occur. It's mad.
It is, yeah. There must be an under-23 game.
They could have just played us Friday night. You know what I mean? Like it's the Monday, Friday flip. They could have just had us on Friday night, and then it's Monday again to Manchester United, but hopefully not off the back of a negative result as it was against Fulham. All the way through to Monday, it gives us more time to do the build-up. You'll have Thursday night. Looking ahead to it, we'll be doing the brilliant Friday show that previews every single Premier League game with excellent guests all the way through. Really looking forward to doing my first one of them this season. Thank you very much to Mo for sitting in on it last season all the way through. We'll be doing, as I said before, Thursday night. There will be the pre-match warm-up, our new audio show that devoted to it. Comes out early, which currently in this climate doesn't feel, doesn't feel like quite like the win it did when we conceived of it back in June.
You can listen to it over
twice.
3 days.
Listen to it twice. That is to come as well. There is also obviously the new Team Talk video, which takes what Jurgen says. There'll be a report this week. There wasn't one last week, off the basis of the fact that we hadn't watched Fulham play a Premier League game, and they made a number of changes. I wouldn't have predicted what happened in the game against Fulham. I don't think you did either. But there will be one in the build-up to the game against Crystal Palace. Having watched them against Arsenal last week as well, it'll be relatively well informed. There'll be Tour Live, 4 p.m, a live video on Friday, looking ahead to the weekend. Really looking forward to doing that one. That is 4 p.m. on Friday. Come and join us. Come and be part of that particular party as well. There'll be an AFQ. It is the Anfield Wrap. It is everything you need around Liverpool Football Club. It's sunny outside. It's a lovely, lovely day in the city of Liverpool. Whatever you do, though, enjoy your soccer.